Assalamu alaikum, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of The Climb. Today we are going to be talking about three things. What Dr. Lang has to say about reason, choice, and suffering. First, let's do that intro. Assalamu alaikum, my friends. I'm Miraj Mohideen. Welcome back to The Climb. We are continuing our journey with Dr. Jeffery Lang. And before we start, I just wanted to kind of throw something out there. He describes his journey with the Qur'an. He says, he likes to walk 7 miles a day. So imagine this young professor of mathematics. Maybe he was a PhD student at a time or a postdoc. And he'd be walking up and down the street in downtown San Francisco, I guess, with the Qur'an in his hand and a highlighter and maybe a marker, marking it, folding the corners, struggling with this Qur'an, like really struggling with it, and compare that journey with the Qur'an to maybe your journey with the Qur'an. I can certainly compare it to my journey in the Qur'an, where it's perfectly preserved, all the pages are pristine, sitting up on a shelf somewhere. Oh, it's holy, I dare not actually get into it and use a highlighter on it, right? Or a translation of it. And I want to challenge you to start approaching the Qur'an the way he is showing us he did, because he's had incredible results and discoveries for himself reading it. And I think that if we put a little bit more oomph into this book and interact with it more the way we are told to, God willing, we too will see kind of huge benefits from it. So just something to think about. I'm not trying to make us feel guilty, but just try to inspire us to be the best versions of ourselves. So moving on from here, I want to talk about what the Qur'an has to say. Remember about these three things that he came up with. We talked about reason, choice, and suffering. So we're going to start off with his exploration of what the Qur'an has to say about the use of reason.
So very quickly, I was wondering, does the Qur'an really emphasize reason? Does it really emphasize choice? Does it really emphasize suffering? How much more time do I have, Madam Speaker? 35? 25, okay. I'll do the best I can. So let me just try to indicate to you, as I read through the Qur'an, and I'll try to get through this quickly because you guys look tired. And I know you're interested to find out how that basketball game is turning out. Let's see, does the Qur'an really emphasize reason as essential to human growth, to this experience we're having on earth, to our very purpose? And the answer is definitely yes. So much so that even Western Orientalists, people who wrote against the Qur'an, said that this is a major feature of the Qur'an, a feature that you cannot miss. Henri Lemens, writing in the early part of this century, one of the famous Orientalists, who wrote very much against Muslims, hoping to unseat them from their religious belief. He wrote, "The Qur'an," and this is his quote, "is not far from considering unbelief as an infirmity of the human mind." Unbelief is, he thought, and he was saying it mockingly, is like, you can't think straight. You're not using your mind right, as my father used to say. Maxime Rodinson wrote at length about the rationalistic approach of the Qur'an to faith. And this rational tone of the Qur'an is one of its most salient features, beyond doubt. I'll just give you a few quotations. One of its fundamental themes is that people ignore or reject God's signs and corrupt religion precisely because they do not use their reason. And the Qur'an will say that again and again and again. The Qur'an says about the disbelievers, they refuse to reason and are a people who do not reason. I have 7 such quotes in the Qur'an. The Qur'an will say, will you not reason? It mentions that 14 times to the reader. God reveals signs and lessons and admonitions so that, and this is a quote from the Qur'an, perhaps you will finally use your reason. There are 8 such statements in the Qur'an. From the Qur'an's viewpoint, reason and faith are allies, just as illogic and false belief are allies. And it clearly sets the conflict along these lines. It says the right way has henceforth become clear from error. Those who benefit most from the Qur'an are persons of insight. 16 such statements in the Qur'an. Firmly rooted in knowledge, 8 such statements. Use the reason. 10 such statements. Stand on clear evidence and proof, 7 such statements. Those who oppose this revelation are deluded, 9 such statements. In manifest error, 28 such statements. Ignorant, 15. Foolish, 3. Have no understanding, 9. Only follow surmise and conjecture, 9. And blindly adhere to tradition, multiple times. It states that. In an almost Socratic style, the Qur'an repeatedly quizzes the reader and calls into question his or her assumptions. Again and again, it asks us, what do you think? 18 such statements. Have you considered this or that? 13. Did you suppose? 7. Sounds like a math teacher. Do they not ponder? 2 such statements. Do you think? Do you even think? 18 such statements. The message is clear. To gain truer faith, we need to free ourselves from inherited notions and examine our beliefs rationally.
So, what does the Qur'an have to say about reason? Dr. Lang just did an exhaustive search, like a mathematician, like a true scientist. He went to the Qur'an, just was counting up the numbers. And I jotted down a few right here just to drive the point home. Will you not reason, the Qur'an says 14 times. What do you think? 18 times. Have you not considered? Do you not suppose? 14 times. Do they not ponder? And then, do you even think? So certainly we can see from this, from the cursory look from the Qur'an, that there is an extraordinary preponderance of effort placed on getting us to use our intellect, to reason, to look at the world and to think. Now, this is a huge departure from what a lot of people think religion is all about. What am I talking about here? Well, just let's thinking about it, right? Where, if we look at, let's see here, from, how should I say this? If we look at the Christian tradition, right? Because he's coming from that tradition, so let's just start with that one, right? As an example. And then we look at the Islamic tradition right here. Okay. We have 2 very different paradigms here. Because, I'm sure you know by now, you've heard this rift between science and religion, that they are mutually exclusive. If you truly are someone who lives in the modern world, how can you believe in religion, right? And that's kind of the going trend right now. That's the predominant paradigm, which is why the God-centered way of life is falling out of favor around the world, right? In Europe and especially in the industrialized Western nations and so forth, the God-based approach to life is really, you're a minority if you're following that. And the primary thing that really kicked it off is a scientific revolution. Because in the eyes of a Westerner, right, especially the Judeo-Christian perspective, if you really are going to embrace modernity and science, then you kind of have to walk away from religion because they are mutually exclusive. So if we look at the Judeo-Christian tradition, right, if you start using too much logic, if you start thinking too much or asking too much questions, what's going to happen? It's going to lead you to disbelief, right? How many times have we seen scientists, great scientists that were called heretics, right? Banned by the church because they asked too many questions, because they were studying the stars, because they thought that the earth is not the center of the universe. This is like such a common motif throughout Western Europe, right? This idea that if you follow logic and the sciences, you will fall into disbelief. So the church tried to suppress science, suppress reason, suppress literacy. And finally, they couldn't do anymore because with the scientific revolution, it kind of blew the lid on everything. And after a while, it backfired. And people are like, well, if you created the schism between reason and religion, and now I can't argue with reason, I guess I have to leave religion. And so that in this paradigm right here, logic led to disbelief. Whereas in the Islamic paradigm, what we're seeing in the Qur'an is that God is saying, use reason. Have you not considered? Do you not think? Where are you going? What are you looking at? All of these ideas, observation, right? This actually leads to faith. And not just faith, but increase in faith. So how is it possible that we're looking at Abrahamic religions, but one of them is saying that reason and logic goes to disbelief, and the other one is saying reason and logic increase your faith? That doesn't make sense. And for a lot of people, especially in the Western world, this is a very troublesome thing. This idea of reason versus religion. And so they tend to, people in the West tend to look at religion as just just by definition anti-reason. And what is really important here, especially those of you who are watching this who are not familiar with the Islamic tradition, and those of us who are in the Islamic tradition but don't use our faculty of reason, the Qur'an is constantly asking us, will you not think? Have you not considered? Think, ponder, reflect. And so this is really critically important. Just take a listen to how Dr. Lang summarizes the point.
Learning plays a key role in human development. Read, the Qur'an exhorts the reader. For God taught us the use of the pen and taught humankind what it otherwise could not know. In life, nature, and history, in the Qur'an, there are signs and lessons for those who are wise. There are 21 such statements. The Qur'an states over 100 times that it has been revealed to make things clear. I thought the author of this Qur'an must have had a strong mathematical insight, a natural mathematician.
So for those of you who are coming and who are watching this series from a non-faith background, you're coming as an atheist, or you're in a place right now where you're seriously questioning the existence of God, I challenge you to start looking at the Qur'an and exploring it from the mind of an atheist. Like, I'm not telling you not to reason. Yes, use your reason, bring all your questions, bring it to the Qur'an, and struggle with it the way Dr. Jeffery Lang has, and see what you come up with, the way he's about to come up with something. And for those of you who are coming from within the tradition, I challenge you to start wrestling with the Qur'an the way he is right now, and not just put it on a lofty shelf somewhere and just not deal with it. I mean, that's an imperative of ours. If we're saying that the Qur'an is saying, what do you think? Have you not considered? All of these questions, we have to ask ourselves as Muslims, have we thought? Have we pondered? Have we considered? Because if we are not following the coaching plan, right? If a coach tells you, hey, this is what I need you to do to get in shape. You got to do, 10 jumping jacks every day, 20 sit-ups, 20 push-ups. And if we just like to read the plan, every day we wake up in the morning, we're like, 10 jumping jacks, 20 push-ups, 20 pull-ups. Okay. And the next day we get up, 10 jumping jacks, 20 pull-ups, 20 push-ups. But we're actually not doing the exercises. We're not going to see the improvements that the coach is promising us, right? So in this way, God is telling us in the Qur'an, right? This is what you need to do. Don't just keep reading it, do it. And so we also have to follow that, right? That we have to be people who reflect, who ponder, who consider, who look at the science and try to make sense of it using our faculties of reason. So I'm going to end this episode with that. In the next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the other two categories. Today we talked about what the Qur'an has to say about reason. In the next episode, we're going to cover what the Qur'an has to say about what? About choice and about suffering. All right, so we have two big ones that we're going to cover in the next episode. I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know how this is working for you. Feel free to share this with anyone who you think might benefit from it. And can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. I will see you guys soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.